Okay. Okay. So we're live, Steve, and let's take a moment before we get into this. Let me get the link here, and I'm gonna share that with you.
Okay.
Let's pop this up here. We're gonna share it out to a few different platforms because I know that everybody's been waiting to hear the conversation and the many things that topics that we're going to be talking about, me and Steve. So it's going to be super fun here. First, let me find my channel. We're going to do a lot of different things today. One of the things that's going to be super fun, in addition to be talking about a plethora of things about solar panel cleaning, we're also going to be looking at some videos. We'll look at the group, a few different groups. I mean, we can really have fun. We have a lot of ability and things that we can do with this stream, which is super, super fun.
Yeah.
Copy this over, and Steve, I will send this to you so that you can send that out to your people.
Okay, that's fine. And I've said already to people that there is no subject off limits. Literally, the world is your oyster. You can ask me whatever you want, live and uncensored.
Yes, 100%. This won't be a versus so much, but this is, everything's open. There really shouldn't be any kind of censorship, and all questions should be on that. Try to stay nice as much as possible. Now, let me go ahead and put that in the group.
I'm also just going to post some people in this.
Yes.
So at this stage, we should probably thank everybody for their patience.
Yes. Thank you so much, guys. We wanted to make sure, mainly me, I wanted to make sure to take the time at the beginning to get this stuff out to everybody. So, okay. So that we are live in the group. We are live in a few different places. You can find this on my profile. You can find this in the page for the group. Let's see here. And now we are pretty well set up.
Excellent. Well, I'm good to go whenever you are.
Well, Steve, it's nice talking to you. Last time that we talked, I think, was online. Last time that we saw each other was 2 years ago, I think it is, in Las Vegas. So it's been a couple of years.
Yeah.
First off, before we even get started, catch me up with, how things have been going for you, because I feel like there's been some changes in your life and some good stuff. You got some good stuff going on. I've seen the photos you've posted.
Yeah, lots of good things are going on. Where do I begin? I've got several new companies that I've set up, which has been quite exciting, quite interesting. Obviously, ISCA is the chief one. Everybody knows all about that, so I won't bang the drum on that. I've also got a consultancy company which I've set up over the last couple of years, which has been good. I'm doing work now for UK-based solar installers and designers, doing approval work, really. So they are sending me their solar designs for me to review to make sure that they are suitable for cleaning and suitable for O&M for the next 20 years.
Nice.
And then, so that's a nice little bit of revenue as well, building the customer base there. I'm able to, I built a couple of tools which I'm able to use internally, a soiling calculator, which calculates how much money somebody will be losing if they don't clean their solar panels. So I can do that in any currency.
Wow.
Anywhere in the world. So that's good.
That's a topic that, has been discussed for years now. I mean, we've had conversations about this in depth, quite a few different times. That's awesome. That's really, really good stuff.
So the question tends to revolve on that subject just briefly about what percentage increase am I going to see if you clean my solar panels. I spent 8-9 years trying to figure out that mathematical equation, came up with the answer that it couldn't be done. And so I've kind of reversed the maths a little bit. So instead of talking to people about the cost of action, I talk to people about the cost of inaction. So if you don't clean your solar panels, what are you going to lose? So that's where that calculator came from. And then off the back of that one, I've built a 25-year O&M calculator. So somebody can come to me with their design at the beginning of the project. I can calculate how often the panels are going to need to be cleaned. I can calculate how often it's going to need to be thermal imaged, how often it needs to be serviced. The service frequencies vary depending on the size of the system. So I've got an automatic calculator. I type in the information at the front, automatically spews out a 25-year plan. And also I'm able to project forward what the cost of that O&M project is going to be as well. So it's taken me about 3 years to develop that particular tool. So I've been working hard on in the background, but it's come to fruition. All the work is starting to pay me back. I'm starting to generate revenue from it now, which is good.
That's good.
There's another sort of big step forward as well, in that clean solar solutions have expanded into America. So that's really exciting. We've done a couple of jobs out in the US already earlier in the year. So we're starting to gain traction there now as well. So you
got some ambition. You're definitely ambitious, right? You know, you're ambitious and things have really popped up for you and you're really starting. That's awesome. I want to talk to you about some of these things because they seem really, really awesome. I want to get back to this calculator at some point because we're talking about actual output versus maximum output, which are two different things. And that's something that I like to talk a lot about. You know, I'm a full-on nerd and geek when it comes to solar panel cleaning. So that is interesting right there. There's been a lot of changes in the industry and you have the convention coming up. How do you see some of these changes going on in the industry? Before we even get into talking about such things like, say, Solar Clino's new model and some of the other different robots that are out there, because I do want to take a look at some of these. I want to pull up some videos. I definitely want to look at some of these things. But there's been a change in the industry and also an increase of cleaners coming in. How do you feel about that, man? What's your feeling about that? Because it seems like a lot of people are joining in lately.
They are, which is tremendous. You know, I think that globally, the rate of solar panel installation is outweighing the amount of cleaners, and probably more important than cleaners, it's outgrowing the amount of people that can maintain these systems from an electrical point of view. So it's all right installing it, but who's going to fix it? Who's going to service it? Who's going to maintain it electrically? Secondary to that, we've got our question within our industry of how we're going to clean it all. So what I've really focused on over the last 2 years in the UK is building up this change of mindset of the designers. So stop building me systems that I can't go and clean safely. You know, that's the core theme. As for everybody coming in, I think there's a massive education program that needs to take place. I think many people are migrating from the window clean industry, from the pressure clean industry, from the roof clean industry, which is brilliant because it's a logical add-on. But I still maintain that the solar cleaning industry is a separate industry all of its own. And I think that the skill sets that somebody needs to require or acquire are different to those other industries as well. Everybody probably knows that I came from the window clean industry, had a window cleaning company for 26 years before I sold it. And so I understand that industry very well. And that's why I'm able to speak with clarity, really, to say that the window cleaning is different to solar panel cleaning as an industry.
It is. I agree.
Health and safety is massively different to window cleaning. So that's probably a subject we can discuss further on in the conversation. But it's brilliant people are coming in. But if you're coming in, the education needs to be there as well.
I agree. What kind of advice, because I think that this changes throughout the years. It definitely has changed for me. What advice would you give to somebody coming into the industry now at this point in time?
So regardless of when you come in, you need to research this industry before you go out cleaning panels. It's not as straightforward as, well, I've got a water-fed pole, I'm already here cleaning the windows, let's just clean the solar panels. You need to do your research before you start. The most logical place to start is with the health and safety, because if people understand the risks, I know this factually, some people have decided against it because they don't want this residual possible electrocution risk that is underlying with every solar panel that we clean. Some people, that's too risky. They don't want it. And then the next step is, well, what equipment do I need? So the one beyond that is then, well, what do I charge? Really, that's a little bit like setting up a shop selling sneakers and then ringing other sneaker shops and saying, how much do you charge for your sneakers and how much should I be charging for mine? Well, it depends what the quality of your sneaker is. And really, you should have done that homework before you even set up a sneaker shop. So
I agree.
That's the big thing, is that people need to research this way beyond landing a job of 1,000 panels, then jumping on a Facebook group and saying, how do I price this?
You know what's crazy is that's one of the things. There's a huge increase of that overall of everything, is that I see a lot of cleaners that have come into this industry and they're like their first job. Now, it's crazy, and I don't know if it's hypocritical for me to say anything, because my first job was 7,800 panels, and that's how I got into. But that was 15 years ago. You know, a total different situation. I feel like there's enough information online. Back then, there was nothing. There's nothing. No. So I think that now things are different. And if I were to get into the solar panel cleaning business, I don't think that that's the first thing that I would do, is jump into that. And if I did, there's definitely enough information. There's enough courses out there. There's not only ISCA, there's Solar Technologies. There's, I think Tim O'Loughlin has a course, a few different people, and even some that I don't even know about. You know, so there's plenty of information out there now in different areas to learn a little bit about. So thank God for the groups, though, on Facebook. I feel like that is the hub. These groups there. In fact, there was a new one that was started. I forget the name of it, by a kid, Will Brown.
Solar Panel Cleaning Hub is the name of the group. Yeah,
that's right. That's right. Okay, that's why it sounded familiar to me. I'm excited about this because I'm excited to see what the new generation has up there. Now, hold on one second here, because I think, let me see if I could do this real quickly.
Just picking up on your point about the lack of information when you and I started compared to now, this is why it's almost inexcusable as to people coming into the industry without knowing what it is that they're doing. You know, you've got enough resources around now. We're not where we were 15 years ago.
No, we're not. And like I said, there's so many different groups out there and so much information out there. Steve, let's go ahead and just talk
use
about
efficiency and easy operation and control. The cleaning efficiency of photo.
You're able to hear the volume on that, right? Just to make sure.
Yeah, I could hear it all. Yeah.
Okay, that was a little loud. Let me turn this down here.
This version is a new version in 22 years.
Much better.
It upgrades.
Let me start this over.
This equipment has obtained National Appearance Patent and Utility Model Patent because of its more reasonable structure, high use efficiency, and easy operation and control.
There's a lot of these rotary brushes. There's a lot of different brushes. It's the rotary brushes that go like this that I feel like, and I don't want to talk too much about, you know, the different products, or say good or bad. You know, I want to stay biased no matter what we're looking at here. But I feel like there's going to be a lot more talk about these ones coming up here in the next few years, not for any specific conversation that I may have recently had or anything like that. But this has been something that I've been thinking about for a while now. I've had an issue with a couple of these. What do you think about these rotary brushes, the circular ones?
From what I've seen, there's good ones and there's bad ones. You know, like many other products out there. There's good water-fed poles and there's not so good water-fed poles. The price difference on these rotary brushes vary. And broadly speaking, across the whole of the industry, I think what we can expect is the price of the technology to come down. So that's good news for us as purchasers. You think back 10 years to how much it would have cost you for a Tesla versus how much it's costing you for a Tesla now. Well, the price has come down because production levels have gone up, which reduces the cost to produce. So, yeah, I think we're going to see the cost of this equipment come down virtually to water-fed pole sort of range. And so I think it'll make it much more reachable for people. No pun intended, but I think it'll make it much more reachable on a price point. That virtually everybody will have these rotating brushes. Is it the right equipment to use? Yes, in some instances. No, in others, because they've got a tendency to scratch the ARC, the art coating on there sometimes. They're very individual, but like any Vergin technology, some companies will get it right and some companies will get it wrong. Same happened in the automobile industry 150 years ago. You know, some lived and some died.
I think there's a human factor too, no matter what brush we're using. I think the robots are a little bit different. Tractors, obviously, that's a whole different discussion. But when it comes to these rotary brushes, 2015, I purchased 2 Solitech brushes, and it cost, with the motors, we spent a total of $13,000. It was ridiculous. The price does come down.
Yeah.
But I think that there's an operator use here, an operator fact, because even just like with the manual brush, you're still moving it. You're causing the agitations depending on how you move on the solar panels or the system, and is it consistent? There's a lot of different factors, and if you're leaning one way more or the other, I feel like, and even with a rotary brush like the Solitech, you can still, well, that one's a little bit different, so I will take that off the table. But with these ones right here, I feel like there's a possibility of having an operator error. But I want to watch this and see this, because this is only a minute-long video. But these guys are all really good, nice. I don't want to talk crap about the Chinese brushes, but I'm a little concerned about them.
Cleaning efficiency of photovoltaic panels has been doubled. Equipped with 3 power supply schemes for everyone to choose from. This version is a new version in 22 years. It upgrades the traditional brushed motor to a brushless motor.
I don't remember them having a version 22 years ago, but this is a newer version from 22 years ago. I'm assuming they're just talking about the battery, but that's an interesting comment.
That's astounding.
And comprehensively improves speed, torque, waterproof, and life. The latest internal waterproof structure design realizes complete sealing and waterproofing, and calmly responds to high pollution.
Oh, he's calmly unwrapping it.
.I.
So many pieces.
Yeah.
Is that a backpack? What is that? Is that what? I don't even know what that was.
That'll be a backpack to hold the batteries.
Yeah, that's what it looked like to me. So it's interesting, because I'm not really big on any one of these, these battery pack operated type of machines, because there's too many parts, and I don't know why, but it's the thought of the electrical systems, the battery systems, along with all the water. I get water everywhere. I've had things break on me thousands of times. I've had Murphy's Law hit me more than I can even count. So it's really weird to see these types of things, and I'm not really a fan of them. I got to be truthful. I've only used it one time, and I did not like it.
Yeah.
And I think that's because I just had a paranoia of it having a problem. Have you ever used one of these things?
Yeah, I've used one, and there's the safety element as well. For instance, I've used one on a flat roof, so the panels are down at sort of knee to foot level. Using it on a flat roof, no problem at all. But with the other sort of rotary brushes and with these circular ones, if you catch the edge of the frame, it can really kick your hands around and your arms around. And if you're doing that while you're stood on the ridge of a roof and you've got that spinning, yeah, it can pop that pole straight out of your hand. Or if you choose to hold on to the pole, it can drag you over the top of the panels and over the edge of the roof. I am not a big fan of these being used at height on sloped roofs. I think they can be pretty dangerous. When I see people using them on residential roofs when they're stood at the ridge, it's cringeworthy watching, really, because if that does kick, what form of edge protection have you got? What form of fall protection?
Right. You're right. You're right on point. I've actually had that happen to me before. Many years ago, we were in Long Beach cleaning some carports. It was at a high school. A high school by chance. No, I'm sorry. It was a middle school, but a middle school by chance. It happens to be on one of the Tony Hawk skate video games.
Yeah.
But we're there cleaning, and we had the Solitech, and we had only had it for maybe 4 months, and it was right at the edge. And it went over, it just kicked up, it got too close and dropped down to the ground. I thought we broke it. Luckily, we did not. But if anybody was underneath that thing, you were screwed. But the way it caught, I mean, it's strong stuff. So I thought about that too. You hit a corner and forget about it.
Yeah.
Let me share this over to the Solar Cleaners Network as well. Well, so let's talk about a little things. Let's actually ask about your ISCA, because I do want to ask a little bit about that. Get into a little about it, not to anything crazy. But the first thing I want to ask is this, because I need to clarify something, because I'm a little bit confused. Now, is it true? Because I took your course in Las Vegas that one time. Was I the first person to get a certificate from there? I believe you said somebody else did, but I couldn't remember. But it seems like no. Okay,
No.
man.
I'm afraid,
I thought
Chris,
I was.
there were many people before you. Yeah, many. But I think there was.
Well, I'll still take the credit. I don't care.
You can.
If anybody knows me, I don't care.
I think there was over. There was probably over 300 take it before you. Then. Yeah.
So as 301 is what you're saying.
301. We'll give you the 300.
Well, there we go. There we go. All right. Well, let's see here. How do you approach training at ISCA to ensure that students are industry ready? Because, talking about all the things we're talking about, the rush of cleaners lately, and we have this S curve that just keeps happening in our business. It's industry. People come in, people go out.
Yeah.
But what is the approach that you take with the training, just to make sure that these companies and these cleaners are ready to go out there and be even with everybody else in the industry or better?
So there are two main things that affect everybody all the world over, regardless of what their local health and safety body says, and that's gravity, the effect of gravity on the body, and that's the effect of electrocution on the body as well. That's uniform. So that's our base point. We look at, the main risks for solar panel cleaners generally are falling from height and electrocution. So we built the course, and it took years to develop. And I've actually been delivering the course itself, not in its current format because it's been upgraded, but when I first started delivering it was about 9-10 years ago. And it's moved on and it's progressed since then. But that's always been the starting point is, what's the effect of gravity if we have a fall? And what's the effect of electrocution should we have a faulty component and we happen to spray water on it? So then you're looking at, what do we need to do in order to protect ourselves from falling from height? And what do we need to do to protect ourselves from electrocution? Again, they are base points that you can build from. Beyond that, we then start to look at the countries that we're expanding this course into. So, for example, the American version of the course is slightly different to the Californian version of the course. California and American version is different to the UK course. The UK one is different to South Africa. South Africa is different to India. So I think at the moment, we've got the course, I think, in roughly 32 languages in 28 or 29 countries. Now, nice. I've looked at each of the local health and safety bodies for all of those countries. If there's not a local health and safety body that I can reference, we're not publishing the ISCA course in that country. And so we start with the base points of falls from height and electrocution. We then look at the local health and safety laws, local health and safety regulations and guidance, local health and safety standards when it comes to the PPE. So everybody that's taken the course in their country will get their country's version of that course, which, as I say, they're all slightly different. So we tailor it per country.
All right. Well, that would make sense because things are a lot different in the different countries. For over here in America, we've got a lot, forget all that. When it comes to California on this edge of the coast, we have a lot of different rules and regulations that are just crazy. And sometimes it's hard to know what that is. How do you see yourself in, like, say, I don't want to say comparison, but for lack of better words, how do you see yourself in like comparison, or ISCA in comparison to OSHA, and how important it is to solar panel cleaning as the industry as a whole and cleaners or companies? I'm curious.
So America is obviously a really big market for solar panel cleaners. I've really looked hard into OSHA, and I'm not an OSHA expert. Mike Draper is the OSHA expert, actually, not me. But I've looked.
Shout out to Mike Draper.
Yeah, that's right. I've looked into OSHA an awful lot because I needed to make sure that whatever I'm pushing out in that ISCA training has to be correct. So as far as I can see, the OSHA training, the ISCA training is good. Mike himself has actually taken the course. So he's got his certificate as well. And at the ISCA convention, Mike and I will be doing our first ever joint training. So whoever signs up to do training at the convention, they'll be doing the ISCA training, which is dealing with the more technical elements of solar panel cleaning. And they will do Mike's solar cleaning training as well, which is dealing more with the site safety of things. So for the price of one certificate, they're actually going to come away with 2. And we've discounted that even further because the cost of the ISCA in-person training is $299. The cost of the training at the convention is $199. So you're getting discounted on one, but you're actually getting 2 certificates.
Nice.
So we've tried to make it as reasonable as possible on the price for the convention. But if you're a new person looking to start out in solar panel cleaning, I'm not saying it's to sell tickets. I don't need to sell tickets. It's going very well as it is. But that convention will be the place to be because you're going to have the training, you're going to have marketing people, you're going to have business development people, you're going to have people with a decade or more of experience there. You're going to have residential specialists, commercial rooftop specialists, utility ground mount specialists. Everybody's going to be there from many different countries all under one roof. And so if you want to get into this industry, you've got to get yourself to Vegas and get the crash course.
I think so. I think it's going to be a lot of fun in Vegas. I'm very excited for everybody to meet up. This is an opportunity for us to definitely help build our community and everybody in it. And the thing about online and Facebook and all that is there's not enough, and it's too easy to go in the wrong direction. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and that's really awesome. Now, Steve, I did watch this little interview between you and I'm sorry, not little. It was a great interview. I watched this interview, and how did you like it, before I even get into this and play some of this, how did you like interviewing Mike Draper? Because I got to talk to the guy and interview him one time, and I have to agree, he does know a lot. There is a lot that he knows about OSHA, and the man is definitely on point when it comes to safety.
Yeah. I mean, Mike's a great guy. I've met him in person a few times now at the IWCA conventions. Looking forward to meeting up with him again at the PWNA convention. He's kindly asked me to speak there about solar safety. So I'll be at the PWNA convention with Mike. I think it's end of October, beginning of November.
Okay.
So as regards the interview, yeah, I mean, it's like we're just 2 guys that we feel comfortable in each other's company, able to talk openly. And so it was an interesting conversation. We went different places with it, which was really quite interesting. It wasn't strictly work, strictly business. And so it was nice to get to know the man behind the badge, as it were. And I think that's what people are trying to do with me. They know I'm Clean Solar Solutions. They know I'm ISCA, but actually how much do they know the man behind the mustache, you know? So, yeah, it was an interesting sort of place that we discussed, and yeah, I like Mike, one of the greatest guys in the industry. Obviously, his knowledge of safety surpasses virtually everybody. So whatever he's got to say on safety, I'm all ears.
He's a good one. I don't have this queued up, and I don't think that it has the chapters here, so I'm just going to go ahead and play from here
and try to punch you in the face. That's not my character. There's plenty enough wins, and right now, with what you're trying to do with ISCA and this, now you're taking on the world, right? Mm-hmm. There's a lot of space in the world for several people doing what you're doing, and as impactful as I think I've been in the U.S. with RDS, there's not enough of me. No. They're just and so.
I agree. I agree. There's not enough individuals that at this point, my opinion on this has changed. It definitely has swayed over the years. I think that many years ago, I wouldn't be so strong to talk about safety, and it wouldn't be so important to me. But nowadays, I feel that it is very, very important that there's too many things taking place. It has gone past the point of questioning. I'm even having a hard time finishing a statement or sentence because there's so many different things. I have asked plenty times, even to you, I've been like, well, who has been electrocuted? Who has fallen? Well, the problem now is these things are taking place, and they actually are. So it's not even a matter of who, it's the inevitability of it. And it's now starting to cross that line and come over. So I agree with Mike that there are not enough people out there, and thank God that there are individuals that are talking about safety. I'm not one to really talk about safety because I think that from my perspective, it might come from a hypocritical one. I don't think that 100% of the time I'm on point, and I understand that. I see my failures sometimes, and I definitely understand why they're wrong when it takes place. So in these moments, I really want to emphasize when I do talk about them that, hey, it's really, really stupid not to be safe. I saw a post recently about an individual that he had his ladder had started to fall off. His hose was connected to it.
Yeah.
Okay, and that was in the Solar Panel Cleaning Friends group. Here's the thing that I take away from that conversation. First off, all these types of conversations in any one of the groups is very, very important because they're going to touch somebody, and that information is going to get to somebody, and it's going to be helpful. There was a moment where I was out cleaning by myself many years ago, within like the first year of me doing residential, and I had a ladder, and I was on I believe a 2-story, but I went from the first story to the second story to get up there, but the ladder fell. It fell from the wind. I wasn't using a ladder stabilizer then, and I was stuck on that roof. It was bad, but that sticks in my mind. I remember that, and because of that, in lieu of that, there are a lot of standard operating procedures and systems that have now been in place to make sure that doesn't happen. Like the ladder stabilizer and using that. But there's still things that today I think of now even more. When we put that hose on that ladder, it scares the hell out of me. When we're out in a commercial area, I'm very scared, and I think it's a paranoia that I've grown. So I think I might be a specific special individual, but I am very scared of the hose nowadays, and it doesn't matter of what level it is, whether it's from residential to the commercial, but I'm constantly scared of the hose and something bad happening. Recently we were on a roof cleaning job, and we were using a pressure washer, and it for a few different things, but mainly to get the soft wash out in distance. But one of the hoses, we had an old hose, and it split, and that water just shot right past me. Now, luckily, in solar panel cleaning, we don't have any kind of pumps that we really use to that degree. For the solar tech, you need something, but it's dialed down. But the hoses scare the hell out of me.
Yeah.
And I bring that up because you recently had a hellacious job, which I do want to talk about that. You finished a day early on that, right?
Yeah.
So good job.
So let me rewind before we come on to that job.
Okay.
So let's pick up on what Mike said in his video. There's not enough of him to go around.
Go ahead.
So I'm in the same position. Anybody who knows me knows I do a lot of air miles. I travel a lot in the name of sort of promoting safety and things like this. So I recognize that there's only so much I can get done as an individual. So as ISCA, we're in the process of training instructors. So we've got Roger Barnhart down in Texas. He's an ISCA instructor. We've got Kevin Hargis up in Michigan, who is an ISCA instructor. I'm looking to train 2 more people in California to be ISCA instructors. By the end of the year, we should have them in place. And so if there's any people out there that would be interested in becoming an ISCA instructor, we are recruiting. We do have a business model that makes it work for us and for the instructors. So be interested in chatting to people about that. So that's picking up Mike's point of there not being enough instructors around.
Okay.
Second to that is your point about electrocution, is that things are happening. I'll put my hands up. I've told people this publicly before. I've been electrocuted twice while I've been cleaning solar panels. So I know what can happen. I also dodged a bullet. So I was cleaning with my robot one day. There was some cable resting on top of the panels. I literally just went to flick that cable back down between the gap. I didn't realize that DC cable was damaged. And as I moved it, it arced across the panel. So absolutely flash, a loud crackle. Now, the only thing that made it not arc to me was distance. I happened to be far enough away not to catch the arc. If I would have caught that arc on that day, it's a 3,500 panel roof mounted system. The strings are about 26 panels per string. There was voltage proper voltage, Chris, running through that cable.
It's going to put you out, Steve. That type of thing, that's nothing to play with.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are.
No,
None of us are tough enough.
So I've been caught and I've had a bolt twice, and I dodged the big one by pure chance. And that's me with all my safety awareness, with all my training that I do, and I research the hell out of things all the time, as you know. And even despite doing all of that, I still nearly managed to get caught by that one. So you've got to be very careful. People say, oh, well, it rains on them. Yeah, but you're not grounded when it's, the rain is not
That's
grounded.
different.
It's totally different. And this is the thing, education. You know, people think, well, they must be totally waterproof because it rains on them. No, my friend, they're not totally waterproof. No. So that's the point on that. And then the third point that I just want to kick out there is you're saying about the ladders. I also saw that post with the ladder falling down as well. If there's a piece of advice that I could give to people is you need to stop using metal ladders when you're solar panel cleaning. We do not use metal ladders. We use the yellow insulated ladders. Mm-hmm. So when we're seeking to gain access, if we can't access it with an electrically insulated ladder, we're doing so via scaffolding or via a MUP. And so there's no way that we'll be using metal ladders that, again, run the risk of an arc coming from solar panels or from DC cable and running down through that ladder, because it may be that we've had this as well more than once. The guttering on a property can be electrified as a result of the solar panels not being grounded properly. You put your ladder against that guttering and you hang on to it with bare hands, guess what's going to happen? It's traveling and you're going to get a bolt. And so just because people, the other thing that's important to mention is just because people, we're starting to get a trickle of accidents and incidents being reported. How many people are actually going to go on Facebook and say, I got electrocuted today?
Not very much.
No.
Exactly. And well, see, here's the thing. And before I get to that, I want to stay right on it with that one. Here's my thinking on it is, I don't believe that there are a lot of individuals that, let's say the employees, for example, they are not going to want to keep it a secret. Like if I get electrocuted, something happens, like I'm going to the hospital, forget it. It's a slip and fall for me. That's my moneymaker. I'm dropping dead. Yeah. But no, in all seriousness, though, that's going to be reported. I think for the owners, there might be a less of that. It depends, on the injury, the amount of the injury. If it's just a shock, something really close, then just like what you went through, that's a possibility. It'll go be swept under the rug. And that's the toss-up is how many are being reported. And I feel like that's why the data and the statistics aren't exactly what they should be. But real quickly, if I could, I want to say what's up, Manuel. Thanks for joining in. Such a great guy. He said, even hose management on commercial. What does that say? The DC connection. Yes. That's a very good point. Oh, gosh. I want to get back to that ladder even more because I feel this applies both, but I am so afraid of that hose everywhere on that roof. And it's the roof on top of it, especially with the residential, that there's so many different issues and possibilities that can happen. Now, a lot of that can be mitigated. And I do have some questions for you and something that I want to go ahead and clarify for everybody out there, I hope. But getting back to the ladder and getting onto the rooftop, is there a way to go ahead, and I don't want to go into what my company does because I kind of want to leave a lot of that off of the table. I do use certain types of ladders and stuff like that. There is a reason why I don't make as many videos as I used to. That's because we have upgraded some stuff, and I feel that everybody should, but that's not the point of what I want to get into this. But Steve, let me ask you this. Let's just say getting up, because I've saw some posts and a few different cleaners talking about this. Can I, from the ladder, test that gutter, the roof, with some sort of something, a machine or some sort of meter that allows me to know if it is safe or unsafe, or if there's electrical charge running through that? Okay.
So we'll come on to that bit in a minute. Let me rewind the process. So
okay. Bring it back.
Before you find yourself at the top of the ladder, wondering if that framework on the solar panel is live or not, my question to you is, why are you at the top of the ladder? And the reason that I ask that The reason that I asked,
I was going to wonder if you would pick up on that, because before you
yeah.
get to that top, you got to start. Yeah, okay, exactly.
So,
well, yeah.
So every major body, in fact, every health and safety body, be it India, South Africa, America, the UK, or EU OSHA, all of them have a risk hierarchy, a working at height risk hierarchy. It will always say, can you eliminate the working at height? Now, there's many instances, even in California, I've been to California a few times now, and I can see this with my own eyes, is that there are instances when you don't need to get on the roof at all to clean the solar panels. They can be cleaned from the ground. So
there are some possibilities.
If you can clean from the ground, you should be cleaning from the ground. Next, is there any way that you can clean, if you do need to access the roof, is there any way you can get to roof level without using a ladder? Well, there's two. There's scaffolding and there's MUPs. Now, people say, well, MUP is expensive, and well, tower scaffold certainly isn't.
Tell for the people out there that don't know what MUPs are.
Okay.
And yeah, break that down for them, because I know there's some people out there, because we were talking about some new people and they do join in. So just in case, break this down for these people just a little bit. You don't have to go into detail, but help them out.
So a MUP stands for Mobile Elevated Working Platform. There's two different types. You can get what we call in the UK a cherry picker. You guys call them boom lifts or knuckle booms.
Exactly.
And you can also get a scissor lift, which is just a straight up and down machine. So two different types of MUP. So some are more versatile than others. Some are massive, some are really small, some are mounted on the back of lorries, some will literally fit through a gateway at the side of a residential property. But the scaffolding is one that's really achievable for everybody. You can get single person, single tower, erect scaffolding, which will get you to where you need to get to. It might be, if you've got a bigger job, you buy bigger scaffold, which is 2-person erect, but you can get a tower scaffold up in like 15 minutes. When you know what you're doing, it's up in 15 minutes. You're cleaning from a much safer platform than you are walking around on wet tiles or a sloped roof. 15 minutes, you strip it back down, it's in the back of your van. Yes, you've added an extra half hour to the job. But what I'm really interested in, as well as my safety, is profit. So I purchase tower scaffolding, let's say for $2,000. Every time I go to a property where I'm using that scaffolding, I'm charging that client, let's say $200. Well, I've only got to do 10 hires on that scaffolding. Yeah. After that, I'm in profit. So not only
it's level of difficulty on the job, it has to be time and labor.
Not only am I safe, I'm making money keeping myself safe.
Correct.
Why would anybody not want to do that? So coming back to the risk hierarchy, at the bottom right-hand side of every risk hierarchy will be the use of ladders. And usually it's highlighted in red. And usually it will have words to the effect is that ladders are only to be used as a last resort. So when I see people working from ladders, I'm like, is it impossible you could have had a MUP or scaffold in there? And 9 times out of 10, they could have had scaffolding or a MUP there, even on a house. So there's very, very, very little reason to use ladders. I can tell you this genuinely. We've not even had a ladder in our van for 3 to 4 years. We just don't need them because we've got tower scaffolding, because we use MUPs. And all this argument that people have of, well, my customer won't pay that. You don't know what your customer will pay.
That's not true.
Yeah,
that's not true.
You're making an assumption. And the hire of a MUP or the cost of you charging them for scaffolding is way cheaper than you falling off the roof and then claiming from them. So
the price of solar panel cleaning is looked at certain, certain ways. And I think that one of the things that should be added into that is the different obstacles that one may face while they're there and the level of difficulty. And so I think what you're talking about is right on point. I do agree with you. It is something that I've built into my pricing structure because, there's not just you talk to somebody, you on the phone or email, and you throw in a bid and you get the as-builts and you're all good. You think you're all good. And then you get to the job and it doesn't really matter if it's residential, commercial to large scale utility. There's going to be something there that you don't, recognize or saw from Google Maps or from this and that. And location dictates everything. Not everything is the same. So it's what works for one cleaner, quote unquote may not work for another one, as they say. So it can be very crazy. That scaffolding is pretty interesting because I've looked into that. We call them mainly aerial lifts over here in America, but the knuckle booms are amazing. I've used all the different types. In the beginning, we used for the commercial and getting up on the carports. I think it was that first job, that hellacious one, and I think that's added to the reason why it took a whole week to clean 7,800 panels. But we were on an electric scissor lift. We had two of them with two guys each. And, the balancing issues on them is just shit. So you really, and these are some of the types of things you learn when you're starting out, that when you are cleaning, and let's say, for example, use a scissor lift, you want one that's a 4-wheel drive and has some outriggers, depending on how high you're getting, but definitely you want some outriggers for like the knuckle boom or the cherry lifts, or cherry pickers.
And let's play it out a bit further, Chris. Okay. Let's say that there is an accident. Let's say that I'm, as the employer, I'm doing my thing. I get a phone call from an employee. Oh, John has just fallen off a roof. Okay. What was John doing on the roof? Well, he climbed up a ladder, went on the roof. Okay. Right. So then OSHA are going to investigate me. They're going to contact me and they're going to say, can you please provide training for all your guys? What training did they have? Did they have working at height certificates? Did they have manual handling certificates because they were lifting equipment onto a roof? Right. Have they had slips, trips, and falls training because they got trailing hoses on the ground and trailing hoses on a roof? So they're going to look into how well I've trained all these people. If it's an electrocution, okay, what training did you give them to teach them about this electrocution risk? If I can't produce those pieces of training for OSHA are going to come for me. And one of the things that they're going to come for me on is use of ladders. Well, is it possible that you could have used scaffolding? Could you have provided scaffolding as the employer? Yeah. Why didn't you then? Ladders were cheaper and quicker. Okay, well, that goes against me. Could you have reached that place by using a MUPE? Yeah. Why didn't you do that? Well, I didn't think my customer would want to pay the money. Okay, well, maybe the customer wasn't going to pay the money, but you're now going to get a citation and you're going to pay the money for that accident.
You definitely have to take these things in consideration. And I'm sorry, I think I just cut you off. It's very important to have your checklist. And these are things that I take back from my commercial days. In the earlier days of making videos, it's a lot of fun is seen from it, but there's a lot of background stuff that's not seen, which I'm sure is not seen with a lot of the different pictures that's posted up. There are a lot of different things that we do before we even leave the garage in the morning. We go through just the vehicle to make sure that the vehicle is good. We check the equipment. It's even more, residential is very easy and fun, and you can stop to eat every now and then and have a lot of fun. And that's what it is. It really is. And that's probably what draws me to it the most. But with commercial, it is fun as well. But to a higher degree, and depending on the level that you clean, there are more different factors that come into play, and there's more dangers, more dangerous zones. So you have to be cognizant of your surroundings. You have to watch the water. You have to watch the guys. You have to watch the people. With the carports, we had to go the day before for especially for the colleges and the universities, and tape all the parking lots out because you obviously you can't have cars underneath them. But it is very, very important. One time, Steve, we were cleaning up. We were on top of this. It was a scissor lift, and we were about 35 feet up in the air, just above. The platform was even with the top side of the carport. The heavier, the more higher side. And we had the machine with us that it was connected to the Solitech was up in the lift with us, which was stupid in retrospect. And I'll tell you why. These are things that in the beginning, even with my OSHA 30 hour, which taught me a lot, it didn't have any kind of training for solar panel cleaning. And I think that's the point I'm trying to push here, is that now things are a little bit different. That information is out there. Well, we're traveling. We started at the end closer to where we plugged into the hose, and which went to the filter, went into the motor, which was up on the lift with us. So we're going like this, and we're moving down along. And as we got maybe 3/4 of the way down, we went too far. And we just were doing something and it already was tight enough. And just from the motion of us going like this, it took off. And my foot was maybe 3 inches away from being grabbed from that. And if it would have wrapped up with it, it would have pulled me. And although I had a harness on and it was tethered into the top, the area of it, I still could have been pulled and it would have hurt. I could have gotten seriously hurt. So there are a lot of different factors that go into being safe. What kind of checklist do you have? And actually, before I get too crazy along with it, I want to stick with this scaffolding too as well, because that is something that I've never, ever tried. Well, actually, I take that back. I had one residential customer that happened to have some scaffolding, and it wasn't too hard to put up, and I actually kind of liked it. But let's see here. This person hold on, not this person. Someone wanted to know. There it is. Steve, can you share the type of scaffolding that you mentioned?
Yeah, so it's tower scaffold. That's the UK UK version. Let me just see if I can quickly open a window here and try and find out a US version of it. I'll tell you what I'll do is I'll create a post about it. It's for Lewis, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes. And let me do this real quick too. Hold on a second here. I can.
Yeah, so you can get aluminium scaffolding. You call it the same, mobile tower access or mobile access towers. Yeah, so it's the same terminology. Yeah. So basically, you're using mobile towers. Yeah, and you can get the yellow ones as well, which are the insulated ones. Yeah. So if you get you can get insulated versions, which are specifically for work around electrical equipment. There you go.
Yeah. So, and this would be very helpful in a lot of different situations. I can say for a fact that I've been in some crazy situations cleaning solar panels. Not too crazy. I wouldn't call myself a cowboy by any means. I definitely have pushed the line, I think, a few times, as I think a lot of people have. And in these times, they definitely have taught me a lot. I'll tell you that. Steve, I don't want to stay on this topic for too long, so give me 1 second because I have some other stuff here. Where'd that go? Lost my place here. Well, let's talk about one thing that I do want to talk about is the different type of equipment that you are using out there. I want to talk about, we've already been doing this for a total of 52 minutes, and I feel like I could have a conversation with you for hours and hours and hours. You know me, I like to talk. Tell me about the F1, and did you get the F1? Do you have that one? That is the new one, right?
No, the new one is the L1.
L1, that's right.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I got sorry, Roman.
So yeah, I got my first F1 in 2018. I think my robot is number 6. So very much infant territory for me.
Still doing good.
It still goes. I mean, it's had some repairs. We have to keep throwing money at that to keep it going, but it still works and it still goes. So yeah, it's actually not hugely different from the newer F1s in some respects. So it's still a good machine. We've got 2 of those. We've got an M1. We've got some rotary brushes as well. And the next purchase will be an L1. Now, what I would say about the L1 is I was gobsmacked at how grippy that thing is. So I was very nicely asked by Solar Clino to go and view it at Munich when they released it. And I spoke to Paul and I said, well, I arrived on site and I said to Paul, oh, go on then, show us how to do it. No, Stevie, you just handed me the remote. He says, you know how to do this. He said, just drive it.
Yeah, come on.
The same as the F1.
I like that.
Well, due to the pitch of the panels in my head, I'm thinking if this is my F1, it's just going to slide straight off. And the L1 gripped and it held.
Wow.
They've got a longer base for the tracks and they've also got a wider base for the tracks. And that's giving it more grip. So that's a really, really good addition. I think it's only like 45,000 euros, so not much more expensive than the F1, which to me makes it good value. But you need demand for the L1. It's not suitable everywhere. It's not a single person robot either. So I can operate my F1, lift my F1 around on my own. I'm really going to struggle to do that with the L1 because the brushes are big and they're heavy. So really it's a 2-person machine. But from driving it and from seeing the cleaning quality and seeing how robust it is, I can't wait to get my hands on one. That's the truth.
I bet.
Yeah. I want to get one, but you do need demand for that particular robot.
Sure.
Work, it's going to
wider.
It's going to be in your shed forever if you've not got the work. But if you've got the right sort of work, it's a bit of an answer to our prayers.
You said that's about 45,000 euros.
Yeah, I think that's
okay.
The price.
So that's about $48,195 US, in case anybody is interested or curious.
And if you divide that by 200, you'll see how many houses you need to do in order to afford it.
Okay, hold on, because I'm not that quick. So hold on a second.
It's going to be what, 2,400 houses?
Something like that. It's a lot. It's a lot. So you're going to be working a long time, years. Okay. There's a lot of other good robots out there. There's another brand that I've been interested in called K Solara. Have you heard of them?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. They're a smaller company, and they use, a motor. I think we're going to see some technology from them. They're a company out of Italy, I believe, and Euros. I believe the guy who runs it, his name is Euros. I'm kind of interested in what these guys got going on, and I feel like it's going to be something big. What is your opinion on that?
I've not owned one. I've seen them in action and I've felt them. I've seen one at a show and I was able to sort of lift it around and whatever. I have 2 problems with the K Solara. One is the safety element. Is I don't feel if you're on a roof, you have an awful lot of control over them. So if your hose connection goes off the K Solara, certainly the version that I've seen, there doesn't seem to be much of a backup. You would have to tie an additional rope and have that rope anchored to a certain point. But I think the principle behind the K Solara is that you can just walk up and down the roof with the machine. So let's just pause on that picture there, Chris. Go back up. Yeah. So on the left-hand side, you've got the hose connection. Now, I believe that's the only thing that keeps you in control of the robot, is that you use that hose to move side to side to clean the panels. So if that hose connection fails, I wouldn't like to think where your robot is going to end up. So that's one issue that I have with it. The second issue is the big red box on the top. Now, I've just been, and this is an exclusive, this has only just happened. So I've been shortlisted for the UK National Energy Efficiency Champion of the Year. So I might get an award in October, fingers crossed. Let's see what happens. But the reason I'm a massive believer in not just doing this for money and not just doing it because we enjoy it. I really believe that we should be looking to reduce our carbon footprint whenever possible as well. So as much as possible, we're using energy efficient vehicles. We are using electrical equipment that we clean with instead of gas driven. And I think the K Solara is a gas driven. And in my head, that kind of brings it down a point or two, because you're burning fossil fuel in order to clean green energy. And it just kind of goes against my grain a little bit. Now, as soon as we can, here in the UK, we're looking to electrify our fleet of vehicles, which is very much the path that solar companies are on. Now, vans are just getting to that stage so that when you go out and you look to lease your next vehicle, you can lease an electric van instead of a fuel-driven van. So they're the sorts of things that we do as a company, is we're looking always to reduce our carbon footprint. We don't use paper virtually at all. we receive.
Why don't you just move to California? Because you're basically very, very liberal. You know
we
what?
can talk
They're
politics
trying
if
to
you want to
force
talk
this.
politics.
Here's the thing: is they're trying to force this in California to get rid of kind of motor driven type of equipment, which I think is, in my opinion, and I'm not going to get too far into it or political, but I think it's bullshit. I think that there's a lot of different things that yes we can do. I think that there is a lot of villainization of the Western world, which makes no sense in consideration to a lot of different countries that are just burning tires and just destroying stuff. So I personally, as myself, I do understand what you're saying, and I don't think that there's too much emissions that are causing that much of an effect. But I do appreciate one trying to take the necessary steps to definitely make for a greener world or a better world for our children. Despite the rest of the world giving a shit, but
yeah, I've got 9 companies.
That's true.
Yeah, I've got
right.
9
I get it.
At the moment. I've got 8 companies in the UK, and I've got the one in the US, and all of them are all revolving around energy efficiency to some degree or another. And so,
if we're cleaning panels, I mean, we should be at least a little bit green, right?
Yeah, and it's one of the things that when I move to the US, I'm going to be based out of Vegas in the not too distant future. When I move to the US, I'm likely to buy a Suburban or an Escalade or something like that. That's what you guys have. But that will change,
The bigger the better.
Yeah. And so I think that Elon is doing a great thing with the electrification of vehicles. The Chinese are coming. There's companies like NIO and Xpeng out there that are doing amazing things, and BYD are doing amazing things. And I think over time we will see this electrification of vehicles. There's an argument for it going to hydrogen and whatever else as well. So I just think we'll be moving away from fossil fuels. But coming back to the K Solara, I'd love to see batteries on there instead of a gas tank. If they did,
I agree.
They'd make Steve happy. And I think they need to introduce another safety feature on there as well to make sure there's a secondary backup if that hose connection fails. But I think the cleaning quality from the videos that I've seen is good.
Talk to me about, here's something interesting that I think is kind of, that I would really love to hear your opinion on. Dry cleaning. What is your opinion on the dry cleaning? Because I could say that of all the things that kind of bother me, this is one of the things that I think scares me the most is dry cleaning. I don't understand that, but I guess it's a thing. And let me actually add to this. I apologize for cutting you off again, which is what I do all the time. Unless you're in an area where it's just nothing but dirt, let's say you're in the mid-Sahara and it's just a bunch of dirt, I don't know why you'd be cleaning out there. But other than that, and you're just in a regular place, why would you dry clean? I don't understand the reasoning for that. It seems like there'd be scratches. What do I know?
In the vast majority of the US, certainly everywhere in the UK, all of Europe, the vast majority of the world will always need to wet clean because of the type of soiling that we get and because of how that soiling adheres to the glass as well. So if you've got dust particles, it rests. When you've got lichen growth, it's sunk in. When you've got traffic film, it sinks in. When you've got algae, it sinks into the actual grain of the glass. If you put solar panel glass under a microscope, you'll see it's made up of pyramids. It feels smooth to touch, but actually it's not. And so dust particles and traffic film particles are fine enough that they fit into the pits of the pyramids. That's when you get your soiling accumulation, which is how we're now living. Dust settles on panels in a slightly different way. It doesn't integrate into the glass of the panel as much. I've spent some time in Dubai. Places like Dubai is great for dry cleaning. There's a scarcity of water over in these countries. India is another place where dry cleaning works. Australia, some parts of Australia. John Johnston's the man to talk about all of that. But there will be
great guy.
Yeah, there'll be dry cleaning applications in certain parts of Australia. In Chile, I know that they're doing dry cleaning out there and it works very well. So it's very, very site specific. When you've got a huge Atacama desert and it's just like no water anywhere, you need to find a solution. And so dry cleaning is very specific, but in the vast majority of the world, we're always going to wet clean.
And I remember about a couple of years ago at the RE Plus show or convention here in California, there was a a brush that had it wasn't even like a brush, it was like a bunch of microfiber cloths that were attached to it, and that's what they were dry cleaning with. So it's a whole different thing. Again, location dictates everything, and what works for one cleaner obviously doesn't work for another. It can be very different out there.
I will. You mentioned RE Plus. I will be out in Anaheim in October. So if anybody's if anybody's going to RE Plus, I'll meet for a beer happily.
Perfect. Yeah, you know what? This year I will be there and won't be having too much of a beer. I've really calmed down on my beer drinking. And I think most of individuals kind of know me, or at least have this perception online that I have a lot of beer. And for a bit I did as I was going through some stuff, but you know, really it was like 2 or 3 beers a night, which still too much in my opinion. But definitely I think that we can meet up and have some tacos, and I'll have 1-2 beer, and that's enough to really call it a night. Well, I really like this case Solara, and I think that there's a few different things that they do have to work out. And I believe as they grow, we're going to see some big stuff from them. When I first learned about Solar Clino, there were things that I really was questionable about them. As time progressed, they have grown considerably in ways that I wasn't even expecting. Really great guys over there, Roman, Stefan, I like them. If anybody is interested, if I could give a shameless plug real quick, you can go over to spcfonline.com, which this whole stream is sponsored by. No, it's not really, but I do sell equipment. If anybody's interested, go ahead and check it out, or you can give me a message. But anyways, whatever. The equipment is really cool. I like the stuff that's going on there. We've talked about the Chinese brushes out there, the circular brushes, and the Solar Clino and the K Solar. Are there any type of pieces of equipment that you can share with some of these guys that are new to the industry, or something that might pique somebody's interest that they might not know of?
So I do have a bit of a scoop, actually, which you probably didn't know. So I do have a bit of a scoop.
Let's hear it.
At the ISCA convention, there is a company going to be there who many people will know, Simpol. Now, people also know Philip, and he claims to have come up with a non-conductive pole, which is a mix of glass fiber and Kevlar. So I'm interested to see what that pole will be like, and also to what voltage it's resistant to electricity. So that's going to be an interesting one. I think he's releasing it.
How much? I'm curious. I'm also aware of this. Actually, well, one of his poles made its way down here to California, and I did test it out. I'm not going to go into detail about that because I want to save that for Philip and what he's doing. I've stepped aside from that. I'm very interested to see exactly the ratings of it, because I think when we talk about the water-fed poles, whether they're holding, controlling a manual brush or a rotary brush of any sort, there are different things to consider when it comes to them. Not just will it connect to it and the safety of it, and is it insulated? Will it mitigate the issues? Also, the rigidity of it. There's so many different things. As I like to say, Steve, there is a huge difference between the academic side and real world application, and this is totally true.
Absolutely.
A lot of things change.
And as good as an insulated pole may be, if it's still got water running down the outside of that pole and that water reaches your hands, well, the pole itself is not conducting, but the water may well be. So,
and where's everybody's tubing go to? That's a very, very good point, which I didn't want to bring it up. I'm waiting. I'm being cool about things, I guess you could say. And, I am. You could say that, but there is the tubing. The majority of solar panel cleaners have that tubing running up the pole, because it makes no sense to have it outside the pole like the majority of window cleaners. It's different. You're going to get caught in between the solar panels, and that's going to happen daily, or it's just going to be an issue. So
in the ISCA training, in the ISCA training, we talk about this, and we go into some detail, which I'm not going to do now, but we go into some detail about how the human body's resistance to electric shock is lowered when the skin is wet or when the skin is broken. So if you've got a cut and the electricity reaches your cut, that's going to affect your body in a way different way than if you've not got broken skin. So you need to bear all of this in mind. Who's cleaning in California on a July day and they're not sweating? Well, everybody is on the roof and they're sweating.
Bleeding. We call it bleeding, is what me and Mike call it. It's bleeding because that's what it feels like. You're out there, we get out there and loading up the vehicle, the work vehicle to go. You're bleeding already. You feel it all over your head. So yes,
so
it's on hands, everywhere.
Your exposure to an electric shock is greater, and it's going to be more severe just based on the fact that if it does travel through that pole and you've got sweaty hands, you're going to get a worse electric shock than if you have bone dry hands. So all these things, are people taking this into account? The answer is no. Every single person that comes on the ISCA training, be that online or be that in person, says, I had no idea about some of the issues that you've said. I have to change the way I'm working.
It's crazy. It really is crazy to think of all the different situations and things that can go wrong while you're out there in the field. Well, I am equally interested and almost abused. I can't wait to see what this pole is. There's been talk about a fiberglass pole and the thoughts of a water-fed pole that would be non-conductive. I myself don't see how you can mitigate that entirely. I don't think it is possible. I think that still there's some conductivity that can take place no matter what. Again, you make the very, very good point, and it's something that just kind of just rotates in my mind over and over again, knocking around in that hollow brain of mine. Hey, the tubing is running right down the middle, and as I'm cleaning, when I have my pole fully extended, okay, whether it's flat because horizontal because I'm cleaning roof mount panels or something like that, or I've got some angle on it for whatever reason, a ground mount, or because of the rooftop, doesn't really matter. I can hear that tubing knocking around in there, and I can feel the water rushing down. And there's plenty of times where the fittings on the top of towards your pole or any type of thing like that, whether it be a regular push fitting or even a little bit more heavy duty one, that things happen. Again, like I said, Murphy's Law happens to me all the time. The guy hates me. Murphy's Law hates me. It just always is popping up. But there's so many opportunities. I said in the beginning of this over an hour ago that I get water everywhere. And that was not an understatement. I get water everywhere. It's a mess. So I just don't, I don't see. I think that there are a lot of stuff, even with the precautions that we have now and the things set in place. I think that we're even going to see that in the next year that is going to change a little bit and get even better. Real quickly here.
I have plenty of time ahead of me, so we can keep this going as long as you need or want.
Yes, you know what? Let me just go ahead and plug in my phone right here. We'll go for a little bit longer. I realize for you that it is, 9 p.m. for you right now?
Yeah.
9/11?
Some people would say I need my beauty sleep, but I would say no one can sleep that long.
Well, you're definitely, you've worked on your image, and it is, you've perfected it. You have I never would talk shit about a man's facial hair because it's just very masculine. If you ask me, that works perfectly. Let's see here. Steve, I don't know. What would you like to talk about? I ask a lot of questions. Is there anything that you would like to ask of me, or anything that's been on your mind? You're like, no, I don't think about you at all.
You seem to have turned a corner in the way you compose yourself online in some aspects on the Facebook group, which I personally have seen a much more professional Chris of late, which is brilliant. So
thank you.
I suppose a question I'd like to ask is what prompted the change?
The thing about it is it's not that Chris is less rageful or less angry, because I have always been one. I mean, to be real, I'm not the biggest guy, but I'm not the smallest guy. My last name is Vergin, so I've been picked on since I was in kindergarten, but I've always risen to the top, but I've always been somewhat of an angry person. I think that later in my years, I'm now 46 years old, I have been very angry on the road. If you think that I'm you got a lot of anger when I've been on Facebook, you should see me when I'm driving. I hate people behind me that go too slow. And when I'm working, it's always somebody in front of me that's going too slow and somebody behind me that's going too fast.
Yeah.
So it's a problem. For what happened for me is that I was going through a change, and it kind of was public. You know, it was in the public eye. I had a few different things. I lost some family members. Excuse me. Wasn't choking because I was crying. That was my coffee. My dog passed away, and just going through some life things, and it made it really, really hard. And so I was just kind of venting maybe a little bit too much, unbeknownst to myself online, and maybe gave out a little bit too much anger. As far as what changed, you know, life is a beautiful thing. And it's amazing. And I don't want to get too crazy on it because I can't tell anybody about I feel like I don't want to tell anybody or talk to anybody about their full beliefs about God and in heaven, because I think it's different for everybody. But for me, I've become more spiritual. I haven't gone back to church or anything like that. I grew up in a church, so I've spent enough, you know, many years in church. I get it, and I love all that. Not saying anything bad about it. It's a beautiful thing. For me, it has had a profound effect. I have changed a little bit, and I've always been a fun-loving guy. I like to talk. I like to joke around. I've got a lot of friends, and then I got a lot of friends now that I don't have anymore because throughout these later years, I've caused problems with. You know, I've been too vocal about it, and sometimes I'm still very vocal. I've become very political in these past few years, which is something that I never thought I would ever be. Coming from somebody who played guitar in punk bands as a teenager, who didn't care about the man or the system, and things have really changed. And I think all that kind of accumulated together and just kind of overwhelmed me. And at some point, I just said, I don't want to be like this anymore. And I would like to just go ahead and enjoy life. And so because of that, it just prompted a change. And there's only so many posts that you can see and go back and say, shit, I shouldn't have said that. You know, I've gone off on a lot of people and probably have offended a lot of people and individuals that really did not need to, was pointless. And I can't apologize enough. I mean, how can you apologize for being a really big jerk online to some people? And, you know, I still stick to, I'm just a cleaner. You know, I'm not your moral compass. You know, if you're looking for me to be your moral compass, don't do that. If you're looking to me to be like, hey, this is how you run a business, no, don't do that. You know, I'm a solar panel cleaner. I'm still human. You know, I still got things about me. So I wanted to be a better person. I guess I could have just said that, but I love to talk and I'm so egotistical.
So if you could go back to one moment in your life, one pivotal moment in your life, and give yourself a piece of advice, what would the pivotal moment be, and what advice would you give yourself?
Okay, so back when I was in high school, when I first got into high school, I was put into this program with a bunch of kids that were super smart. I've always been that guy, that guy that, excuse me, I didn't do my homework, but I always got B's and A's on my tests. I just was really, you know, I excelled in school no matter what. However, though, I grew up in California and loved the beach. So I ditched a lot and went skateboarding and surfing a lot during high school. And because of this, it caused issues for me. And so I missed a lot. And then I also missed a lot of school, missed some tests, which did affect my GPA. In addition to that, like I said, I had anger issues. I've always had them. So I got into fights with kids, and that caused a problem. So by halfway, you know, closer to the end of my junior year, I got kicked out of Escondido High School and was sent to a continuational school, which I thank God for. And I feel like that was the path that God put me on. And in that school, I met some friends who I still have today, lifelong friends that I call brothers. There was a moment where there's this one kid who was a gang member, and I knew him from my neighborhood. I didn't grow up in the best neighborhood, and me and him had problems forever and a day. We went to different schools. He went on a terrible path. I was sent on a path to excel, although I didn't take advantage of it. And I wouldn't go back to that time and say, hey, you should have done better. Actually, after I got kicked out and towards the end, I ended up graduating early, but on my last day that I was going to be there, this kid was going to start a fight with me. And if I got into one more fight, that was it. And I had two friends. I can't even believe I'm telling this story, dude. If I cry, it's your fucking fault. I had two friends who I still have today. One of them is he's a coach and a teacher for a high school, and the other one is well, he's just a really good guy, and I love him. But they got into a fight with this kid and their friend, and protected me and stood up for me so that I wouldn't get into a fight, because both of them knew that I'd have a better future than them. And I can't thank them enough. Like, that changed everything. So I'd go back to then and I'd say, hey, you're going to have a lot of stuff to you. Stay strong. Don't give up. And it's going to be all right. You know, that's what I would do. That was the best point in my life. Like, I could have gone on a terrible path. And had I got kicked out of school at that point, it would have been over for me. And I probably would have ended up in prison. You know, I haven't always had the best friends around me, the best people. I shouldn't say I haven't had the best friends. I haven't had friends that have been in the best situations in life that pulled them in the bad areas too. So if I could, I would go back to that kid and say, hey, who was 17 and a half and was about to have his first kid and get married for the first time. I would say, hey, man, you're going to be all right. Yeah. Hell yeah. Damn it, Steve.
That's cool. That's
yeah.
cool.
See, this is why I brought up the conversation with you and Mike, because you do ask questions like this. Some of the questions are a little bit too much, man. But yeah, that was a beautiful time, man. That changed everything.
So what's been the greatest defining moment of your life? Work or business?
My first daughter.
Work, business, or personal? The greatest pinnacle of Chris Vergin's life.
I was sitting down. We started SoCal Solar Panel Cleaning many years ago, many moons, and it was me, my friend Miguel, and my friend Tyler, and all we had was a website and an idea. We didn't know where to look. Back then, like I said, there wasn't nothing for us, and I made this website. Which back then, that's what I was doing, was making websites and doing SEO for people. But I got a phone call from this guy, and he had this huge contract, and he said, hey, Chris, I saw your website online and I'd like to talk to you about some solar panel cleaning. At that time, I was living in Arizona. I had moved from California, was living in Arizona for 2 years. I tried to do a few different things, and suffice it to say, they didn't work out. But I got that phone call, and I was at a pivotal time where I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was doing, some people might have seen my art. I was doing street art before then. I had lived in an art collective for 2 years in a warehouse that, there's another long story, which I won't get into, but was owned previously by Dave Mustaine and Megadeth. That's where they were practicing in San Marcos. But I was traveling around doing all these different type of art installations that weren't exactly legal. So things were crazy, but I got that phone call, and it sent me on a journey that I did not know that I even wanted to be a part of at all. And it excelled me into solar panel cleaning. And look, we're here now. And if I could just get right back up here and hold on a second. It's things like this. It is individuals that think of you like this. It is a weight that is strong and beautiful. But to think that you've affected people's lives, and that defining moment was everything, because that didn't have to happen. And if it was just some residentials, if it was just a few different things, maybe we wouldn't have lasted those 5 years. And then maybe I wouldn't have started Solar Panel Cleaning Friends, and maybe I wouldn't have gone live. And then maybe I wouldn't have said, hey, I need a YouTube channel. And then maybe I wouldn't have said, hey, let's go live and talk with people. So that was an amazing moment for me that changed my life big time.
Do you believe in fate?
In fate?
Were you destined to do what you're doing?
I don't know. It's crazy, because I ask, like, what led up to me being here? Like, I can't see a lot of stuff in my previous life, like, getting to this moment that actually like adds up to, hey, this all makes sense. This is the grand plan. I don't think that we're supposed to understand that. Do I believe in fate? Not 100%. Yes and no. I believe that things are there to be, to be there. My wife, was it fateful the way that we met? I said that I came back from Tucson, Arizona. Here's how me and my wife got together. We had already been talking for many years and dating. All the time that I was in Arizona, we had talked over internet and the phone and all this kind of stuff. She did not know that I came back to Escondido. One day I left where I was staying at. I left to go to the store. There was no reason. It was really random. I was working on some as-builts for some carports, and I just decided I'm going to go to the store, get some Dr. Pepper, whatever. As I go, I park in the back, and I'm walking towards it, and she's at the light in her car coming home from work, and she passed by. She saw me, so she parked and waited for me to come out. And as I walked out, she said, "Hey, stranger." And at that moment, I was like, I'm marrying this woman. Like, that's going to be it. Well, she lived on that same block, which I did not know. But she was also coming home from work, which she wasn't supposed to come home that day. She was supposed to go to her friend's house. They were going to go somewhere. But she decided at the last minute to go home and grab something, a sweatshirt or something to take with her so that she could go to her friends and they were going to go do stuff. So do I believe in fate? Yes and no. Is that all fateful things? I think that everything that we do adds up to different stuff. Everything. And it's weird to think how all the paths are. There's so many people in the world, and there's so much to say. If I believe in fate, then I've got to believe in the fate of everything, which is weird. It's weird because this is all good and fun, but do I believe in the fate of like people dying, crime, cancer in children? No.
No.
And it's hard. It's hard because you think about that spiritually, like it's hard, that's one of the things that I've struggled with is that, all knowing, explain to me. And I guess that's one of the questions that, I'll ask when I get up there is cancer in children. There's so many different things. It's like, what the hell is that even supposed to mean? And how does that add up to solar panel cleaning?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't know, friend, but
so
here I am.
In the interests of parity, I've asked you 3 off-the-wall questions.
That's you.
Yeah. Do you have anything you want to ask me? We've had discussions that have been interesting before. You can ask me. I put this out on Facebook.
Well,
it's live and uncensored. So fire away.
Well, then let's ask, because I think that religion is something that you do know strongly about, and I don't know how much you want to get into your own background and stuff like that. But where do you see yourself in comparison to previous years? Where do you see yourself now as far as that? And how does that? And if I could, I always kind of ask an extra question. I always got to add on to it, man. How does that tie into your life currently? Which you've made some. I think you're on a good path, not just business wise.
Yeah. So it was live and uncensored. So let's go uncensored. So I was born into the Jehovah's Witnesses. I was heavily involved in it growing up. I was a full-time minister after I left school, pioneering, they call it. I did lots of extracurricular activities. I did the building of Kingdom Halls. I did all sorts of, I was being trained to go on the hospital liaison committee because they obviously don't take blood transfusions. And so I was being trained for what they call HLC work. I was doing some legal training as well. I had applied at one point in my life to go to Bethel, which was the headquarters in the UK. We were accepted for that. And then my wife at the time, we made a joint application, changed the whole path of my life, really, because instead of putting in the application that night, which had already been verbally approved, which is highly unusual, she said that she wanted children, and that was like a bomb going off in my head because that changed the whole sphere of my life. I never wanted children for reasons that go back into my past when I was a child. And so that was a really, really difficult moment. We didn't go to headquarters. I ended up having 2 kids and suffered mentally, spiraled out of control, really. No one knew, literally no one, not my wife, not my best friends, no one knew. Kept it very well hidden. Attempted suicide twice, was physically stopped twice. It was not a miscalculation. I'm a planner, I'm a researcher. I knew exactly what I was doing. and I was just physically stopped in very remote locations twice by dog walkers, which I couldn't quite believe. First time, maybe. Second time, being stopped in the same sort of. I was actually doing something different in the process, doing something different, but it would have been equally as successful. And an old lady just literally pushed me over at the side of the river. I was all tied up and everything, and so yeah, that's a whole.
Wow.
And then I had to go through the process of medication and counseling and CBT and other forms of therapy, climbed my way out of that hole, and then became disillusioned really with the marriage that I was in and with the religion that I was in. And so I got kicked out of the witnesses for adultery. I left my wife, and then a few months later I started seeing another woman who's actually the one that you met in Vegas. So I was divorced once, and then I got married again. That's a pretty tragic story, what happened there, but that marriage failed. And during the time of my first marriage failing, I also woke up one morning not being able to walk. I had to spend 4 months in the hospital learning how to walk again. And that was a back condition that had been as a result of a motorbike accident I had when I was 17, but I was very fit, very strong, doing the job that I was doing of window cleaning up and down ladders. So it disguised the back injury. That manifested itself at the age of 30, around the same time as all these other events were happening. And I was sat down by a physio, and they said, if you don't change your job, then you'll be in a wheelchair by the time you're in your mid-50s. So I was like, okay. So that was problematic. The base of my spine, the bottom 3 discs are virtually non-existent in the base of my spine, so the spine has started to fuse. So that was problematic. And then around the same time, so you're talking about chance, let's talk about this. So I had not been able to walk. I was in a very bad place with my mental fitness, and then I needed to swap my vehicle. So I bought a van, which was about 6 months old. CDs, remember CDs, Chris? So this van,
yes,
CD,
I do.
Yeah, a CD player in there. I was trying to put a CD in to listen to on the way home, and it just wouldn't go in the CD player. I was like, "Why? This is broke. Why has he sold me a van with a broken CD
just
player?"
Popping back and out, in and out. Yeah.
So anyway, eventually I pressed the eject button, and a CD pops out. And remember when you could burn your own CDs? This thing was not written on the label or anything. So I thought, well, I like a lot of different sorts of music. Let's put it in. Let's listen to what it had to say. So I was expecting music. What I actually heard was 53 minutes and 28 seconds of Jim Rohn talking, who's a business guru, American business guru. And I was used to hearing public speakers through my religion. And I was used to also public speaking myself as a result of that. They trained me very well to public speak. And my biggest audience was about 10,500 people at a soccer stadium. So I was able to give a talk there, which was a really nice thing to do at the time. But then this sort of public speaking about business, I'd never heard before. So I was already umming and ahhing whether to change my job away from window cleaning, but I didn't know whether to go into solar panel cleaning. The idea was already there, but I thought, you know what, I'm just going to go for it based on what Jim Rohn said. So on my way home, I listened to that CD twice over, and that CD changed the whole path of my life. I'm in solar panel cleaning because of what Jim Rohn had to say on that CD about marketing. Yeah, about network marketing, not being scared to take a chance, and a farm boy born in Idaho earns millions and millions every year. And for me, it's never been about the money. I'm not interested in the money. I take the money, but I'm not interested in the money. It's about how far can I push myself? What is the challenge that I can set myself that is out of my capability? And that's what drives me. That really is the driver for me, is how far can I go, and what can I actually get done? And so, yeah, my second marriage sadly failed through pretty tragic circumstances. But I find myself, as Kevin Hargis said to me once in Vegas, you had to be there to be here. And there is nowhere I would rather be than here. I am faithless. I have now got a new partner, Gemma, who makes everything happen in my world around me. So I can only do what I can do because she allows it all and maneuvers my life to make it all happen for me. So I'm able to travel off the back of her. I have the freedom to grow businesses off the back of her. You know, this is very much a partnership scenario that we've got going on. And so I'm living the best 2-3 years of my whole life. I've had some really dark times. I lost everything when I walked away from the witnesses. I lost all of my social network. I lost all of my family virtually. I lost my wife, I lost my kids, and I lost my house. And so I ended up in a place literally on my own. I wasn't allowed to speak to my family, wasn't allowed to speak to my friends. And that's a really difficult place to knowingly go into. But I recognized that it was probably going to be for my longer term good. And it's turned out to be that way. And so I don't regret any of my decisions. Spiritually, where am I at now? I can probably tell you more about what I don't believe as opposed to what I do believe. So yeah, I've just been on quite the ride, you know, and I'm writing my autobiography. I'm writing the book. It's quite a colourful life that I've lived, and I feel that I'm in the best phase of my life ever. But I feel that I've lived two lives. I've lived the life within the religion, and then I've lived the life outside. And I just feel, for me personally, and it wouldn't be the case for everyone, but for me personally, I know exactly which side of the fence I would prefer to be.
I get it. You know, I was actually born into the Mormon religion. My whole family is Mormon. And so from birth all the way up until, you know, my early 20s, when I kind of really had a falling out and kind of walked away, all I knew was church. All you know is church. You know the people in it. It's a community. Everybody knows everybody. And you're like that circle. So I totally understand it. And when you walk away from it, there is at first a separation, and it is a little confusing, and it's a little bit scary because you kind of have to step out there on your own. There is still family that I'm not close to. I love them dearly. They're great people. Some of my cousins have hearts of humans that I would never even have. I'll never even be like them. But we're not close.
No,
you know, I don't get phone calls and stuff like that, and I understand that because, you know, I'm also very political. I am voting for Trump. I think anybody who's voting for Kamala Harris is ridiculous. But then again, that's just my opinion. Love me or hate me, which you probably have other reasons to not like me if you don't like me. So that's okay. But what do you think of this? The political climate is really crazy right now, not just in America, but in your neck of the woods, a lot of stuff is going on. How is your day-to-day life out there, man? I'm sure it can't be too crazy. We just see a lot of stuff on X and expect you to be a lot of, you know, there'd be wars with immigrants every single day.
Yeah, I mean,
that's what we see.
The cities, I live in a really nice rural area. I live on the estuary of the River Severn, so it's nice. Like literally outside my front window is the bank of the river, and it's beautiful. It's really nice. But you've only got to drive 20 minutes down the road to Bristol, which is a major city, which is where Gemma is from Bristol. And major riots a few weeks ago there.
Really?
I say riots. It wasn't riots. It was protests. Now, without going too deep into it, we've just voted in a Labour government, and Keir Starmer used to be the head of the Crown Prosecution Service, so a very high legal position, probably the highest legal position in the UK. So this guy is an authoritarian, without a doubt. So he knows law, and he believes in the rule of law. And so the police have found themselves in an unusual position where they've got a politician who absolutely backs their every action. And so I'm not against immigration. The British people as a whole are not against immigration. You go to a hospital or to a doctor, the odds are you're going to see an immigrant doctor from India or somewhere like this. So people are not against immigration in this country. What we are against is illegal immigration in this country. And the people coming across the water on the boats from France are men only, virtually. You hardly ever see a woman. You hardly ever see a child. They're men of fighting age. They are of certain ethical and religious persuasions, and they are fighting a 1,000 to 2,000 year long war with the Western world. As the Western people, we tend to think of 70 or 80 years because that's how long we live. So we're like, okay, well, what can I do in a 70 or 80 year period? They're not fighting that sort of war. They're fighting a 1,500 year war. So if they can
we're going back to the Ottoman Empire, dude. Exactly.
They can gradually infiltrate the system over here, then they will take us over. The birth rate of the average white family is 2 children. The average birth rate of an Islamic family is 5 or 6. So by sheer number alone, they will take over what is a very small island in the next couple of 100 years, because their birth rate is so much greater. So there's lots and lots of problems here in the UK. I already wanted to come to the US for business reasons. I am fast tracking my process of coming to the US because the country here in the UK is incredibly expensive. We're spending about $9 a gallon on fuel. That's very expensive. We're spending a lot more on energy than you guys are over there. Our tax system will only go up now under a Labour government. I'm a job creator. The Labour government never rewards job creators. If you want to stay at home and get pregnant 10 times in the next 15 years, they're going to reward you for that, because they're going to give you a lot of free money. They're going to give you a big free house and all the rest of it. So for me, my time is done here on a business and political level. And I'm coming to the US, which is equally as rock and roll. And I do have opinions on that as well, because I've watched your politics for maybe the last 8-9 years, and I find it a very interesting political situation out there. I won't have a vote because I won't be allowed to vote, but I would vote Trump. But I would vote Trump not because I think he's a nice guy. I would vote Trump because I'm a businessman, and because I want my business to thrive, and I want the economy of the country that I live in to thrive. And so for that reason only, probably I would be voting Trump. That's really, really controversial thing to say. I know that because but
it's weird.
Yeah, I come to America frequently now, and I'll be coming a couple of times in the next couple of months. And I like to bring up the politics with the everyday people. And it's interesting hearing both sides of the fence. But as a neutral Brit with no agenda, I would be voting Trump because I want my business to win. And I believe it will win stronger under a businessman that understands finance and an economy more than it would anyone else. I don't care. I don't care who the opposition is for Trump. I like the fact he's a businessman.
I agree with that. Well, what do you think that's going to have an effect on our industry? Because I feel like that depending on which route we go with different things, if we go towards the opposite of what Trump is doing, it could be negative. I feel like it could have a negative effect on our industry, and then could put regulations in place that maybe we're not even ready for. How do you feel about that? About some of these possibilities of some really stringent regulations that might be put in place over, say, our industry? Because I believe that might be happening.
Yeah, I'll be honest, Chris. I'm actively promoting regulation within our industry in America. So I'm talking to regulatory bodies to try and get things tighter. You mentioned earlier about me being a liberal. I'm actually not. I do believe that rules.
You just have the look.
Yeah, I've just got the look of it.
I'm kidding. No, not really. No, you don't.
Go either way. But yeah, I mean, I think that the industry should be regulated, and I would like people to hear me out as to why. So a solar installer in the UK or in Europe or in the US is an electrician plus additional qualifications, okay? As a solar installer, 99% of my work is done while the system is not live, okay? But in order to fit dead equipment, I need qualifications and I need training. And the installation side of the industry is regulated, and it's regulated for good reason as well. But if I need training, and if I'm going to be regulated, and if I need qualifications to work on a system that is 99% of my work dead, it only becomes live when I do that final connection. Why on earth are we, as solar panel cleaners, allowed to work without training, without regulation, and without guidance when 100% of our work is done while the panels are live? We should not allow. We should not allow to be working on live electrical equipment without training. Somebody explain to me how this is even allowed to happen. And Chris, I've stood up in front of the UK industry and the European industry in front of hundreds of people and said exactly that. When are you going to stop me doing what it is that I currently do? Because I shouldn't be allowed to do it. I'm allowed to work on live electrical equipment with no training and no regulation. But to be an installer of this equipment, I need training and I'm regulated.
So if somebody wants to check out, this would be a great time. Somebody wants to learn more about ISCA. Why don't you go ahead and give a little plug there and tell them where they can go and tell a little bit about ISCA. I think that would be a great time.
Okay, cool. Thank you. So www.theisca.org is the website. ISCA is ISCA, the International Solar Cleaning Academy. So the website is really easy to find. The aim of ISCA is to train people. It's my ambition to make this industry as safe as it can be. It's not currently, and so that's the aim of ISCA, is to increase the professionalism, increase the standards within the solar cleaning industry. If anybody would like to take me to task about why we shouldn't be regulated, I'm more than happy to hear it. We've got the convention, which is gaining pace. We've got some really great sponsors for the convention. We've got some really good exhibitors that are going to be at the convention. Just very quickly, a rundown. On the 14th of November, we're going to have a full day of sessions from speakers from all over the world, talking on all sorts of different topics. On the evening of the 14th, we're going to have an awards ceremony. That's going to celebrate people that have done the best residential clean of the year, the best commercial clean of the year, the young solar cleaner of the year, the best distributor of the year, and the big one that everybody should be going for is global contractor of the year. Now, there's never been an awards ceremony like it. I think if you've got a glass trophy and a logo that you can put on your website to say, I was picked to be residential cleaner of the year, I was picked to be global solar cleaning contractor of the year.
Wait.
Free to enter.
You did not tell me about this element of the award show. So there's going to be there's an actual award that.
Yeah.
Why didn't I vote myself for anything? I should have made like a bunch of like. If anybody wants to vote for me for anything, you're welcome to, because I'll tell you what, I'll take that award, because there's not any solar panel cleaning awards for anything right now. So if you're going to get one, fuck, you might as well have one.
Yeah. So literally, it's going to be the first round of awards that's ever been available to people. You can nominate yourself. You don't need to be nominated by anybody else. You can go on the website. You can fill in.
Steve, don't play with me.
Yeah. True. So the ticket cost includes an evening meal at the awards ceremony and your first 2 drinks. So if you look, I think it's like $109 for the daytime and the nighttime awards ceremony as well. That's including your food all day, and that's including your evening meal, including 2 drinks as well. So that's a bit of a no-brainer to come along to that. And then on the daytime of the 15th, Mike and I are doing that dual training that I spoke about, where people will come away with 2 certificates. And then on the night time of the 15th, I've arranged a bar crawl. So we're all going to go on a bar crawl. If anybody wants to get a drink on me, I'll be buying the first round of drinks on the bar crawl as well. So we got 2 days and 2 nights of what I think will be really, really good. Everybody seems to be booking accommodations center strip. So I'm staying in Harrah's, other people are staying in Harrah's or the Paris or the Hilton just further up the strip. So we're just going to have a ball, you know, and we've got the Saturday.
Wait. They're going to be staying where?
I'm in Harrah's, so I'm booked in Harrah's.
The where?
Harrah's.
It's Harrah's. It's Harrah's.
Not if you're English. Not if you're English. Okay, Harrah's. It's a U in there, not an A. It's a U. It's Harrah's. It's not Harrah's.
We call that Harrah's.
So I'm in
what's
Harrah's.
So funny? That's awesome. What's funny is me, my wife, and my two younger children, my new wife and my 2 other children, we actually like to speak with a British accent, which I'm not going to embarrass myself by doing right now because it's totally slaughtered and terrible. But we have this thing that we love to speak with a British accent. It's so stupid and ridiculous. Well, that'll be fun.
I'm staying in Harrah's then. Other people are in Paris. Some people are in the Hilton. But if you can base yourself around the strip, it's easy to get down to Solar Clean USA's offices down in Henderson from there. That's where we're going to be on the daytime of the 14th and the 15th. And then in the evenings, we're going to be, I'm trying to book, get this, I'm trying to book a bar inside New York Casino for the awards. So we're trying to make this fun. We're trying to make this a good deal for people. So we're trying to put on a show there in New York Casino on the strip. That's where we're hoping to get the awards. And then, the bar crawl is going to take place around Fremont Street. So everybody's going to see a little bit of Vegas. And just if you can come for the Wednesday night through to the Sunday, you're going to have an absolute ball. We're going to make sure
I'll be there.
Yeah.
I'll be there. It's going to be a lot of fun. Steve, it's been a blast talking to you. We should do this again. I think that there are a lot of different things that we could talk about. It's obvious that the two of us are talkers and storytellers with almost similar backgrounds, so that really works out. Thank you so much for joining with me and being able to chat. There's been a lot of stuff that and every time I talk to you, there's something that I learn about you or about solar panel cleaning. You definitely have a lot of information and knowledge in it, and I appreciate that. So thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
I appreciate you asking me, Chris. Good to chat to you as always.
Definitely. Guys, if you are not a part of the Solar Panel Clean Friends group, then definitely go join. Let me just go ahead and put this up here real quick. I wouldn't feel right if I did not. Go ahead and join the group because there's a lot going on. There is a lot of other different groups as well. If you don't, haven't joined this one, yours is Solar Panel Cleaning Professionals. What is the name of your group? Solar Panel Cleaning Professionals.
Yep.
There is Kim's group, the Solar Cleaners Network. There is the new one, Solar Cleaners Hub from Will Brown. Great guy. Go support Will. Let's see here. If you haven't subscribed and liked, go ahead.
Solar Cleaning Contractors from Ryan as well.
Oh, you know what? I apologize, Ryan. Solar Panel Cleaners Contractors. That's another group too, and a great one. So go join all these groups because each one of them have different conversations on different levels of solar panel cleaning, which is really, really awesome. If you're not a part of the YouTube channel or subscribe to it, please go to youtube.com/Solar Panel Clean Friends and hit that subscribe and definitely like this video and drop a comment too, because it definitely helps out for the algorithm. And hopefully, Steve, I'll make a few pennies. If I can make just a few pennies off of this, then I feel like, hey, it was all worth it.
That's cool.
Let's see here. What else would you like to tell them? Is there anything else you want to drop before we go ahead and end this here?
We can end it here. I think that we need to pick it back up and do another one in December post-convention, and we can have a post-convention rundown. How's that sound?
I like that. Well, with that, I will see you in November, and then we will talk in December. How's that sound?
Sounds good, Chris. Good to speak to you.
Right.
Thanks again. Take care.
Thank you very much, Steve. Thank you, everybody. Take care.
Bye.